Welcome back to Fraudsters, the show that deep dives into the worlds of scams and cons and the fraudsters behind them. I'm Seena Ghaznavi.
I'm Ariel Lieti.
And my name is Justin Williams, and I challenge you, Hulk Hogan, for the Intercontinental Championship at SummerSlam, baby. Let me tell you something. Ain't nothing you can do. Ain't nowhere to run. Ain't nowhere to hide when I put my big wiggle on you, baby.
Was that, you said you were Hulk Hogan?
I'm challenging Hulk Hogan.
Challenging.
But you're going to have to go straight to hell.
Yeah. Hell in a Cell.
That doesn't work for me. I'm dead, brother.
Well, this is part 2 of our Vince McMahon series, so strap in. There is plenty to get to here.
So much happening.
So let's take a quick step back. When he meets his dad, he's 12. His dad, again, we were talking about, successful wrestling promoter. He owns the WWF, the World Wrestling Federation, and he inherited that company from his father.
Yeah.
So this is a multi-generational business. And Vince Sr., as Justin was kind of alluding to, was kind of like a man of standing in the wrestling world. And the thing is, Vince's dad left, and there's some emotional distance between them, as, again, Justin rightly pointed out. Apparently, he told his son he loved him exactly once on his deathbed while he was dying of cancer.
And then this is the son that's gone into the like the son that you never had.
Yeah.
Right? He comes into the family business, clearly sees you as his hero, is trying to emulate your entire biography, and you don't tell him that you love him.
Nope. In fact,
until you're on your deathbed.
Here's what he did tell him. He said, get a government job with a steady pension. He clearly did not want his son to follow in his footsteps.
But that's also the negging. That's also saying you don't have what it takes to make it in this world.
That's
and Vince Jr. kind of does the exact same thing to his son Shane.
Wow.
Like a thing where it's like, I'm already in the business and you're telling me I can't make it here.
I wonder then if, dare I say, was that his dad showing him love by negging him?
No.
Like, is that how he shows love? To be like, I know that this shit will fuel you if I tell you to get a government job with a pension. So I'm doing this out of love.
It's abuse. It's
abusive.
Abuse.
It's abusive. But I am
abuse?
But I am saying, like, maybe in his sick mind, that was him helping him, being like, if I tell you that you're good at your job, you might just stop. But if I tell you, like, hey, you fucking suck, get a government job with a pension, you might be like, I'm using this as fuel.
I think you're being too nice to this man.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's dead. I wanted to give him a little juice.
You don't crush your child. Like, if your child wants to be you, like, the thing is, like, be yourself and pursue your own dream. You don't have to do what I do.
Yeah.
And that's cool. But to be like, you could never measure up to me is what that is. And that's like.
You're taking that.
I know, I hear you, but I am saying, and they're all toxic and bad, right?
Yeah.
So for a villain to be nice to you, that's the villain's way of being nice to you, saying like, I know that this shit will fuel you. So I'm going to tell you the roundabout thing.
No, I think it's.
Spend a minute in your brain. That is insane.
Hey, I know a lot of crazy.
Yeah.
I am a crazy person, so I know a lot of things about crazy people.
There's no second thought. It's like I literally don't respect you and see you this week.
Okay.
It's like weird alpha male. Like, you're doing weird alpha male stuff with your children.
kid.
Yeah.
Because you don't have
There's
the
no
capacity to love.
That's your communication medium.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like that.
Fine.
All right, so by 79, though, again, they did all this stuff. Vince and Linda have formed their own company, Titan Sports, and they're running regional promotions primarily in New England. And by 1982, the WWF is doing well, but Vince Sr. is sick and wants to, stop working. Vince and Linda end up buying the WWF from Vince Sr. and his partners. The price, $1 million. Structured in 4 payments of $250,000 each. And Vince Jr. puts up all of his personal belongings as collateral. The terms, of course, miss a single payment and the entire company reverts back to his father and the partners, who keep whatever has already been paid. Okay, seems like a good deal.
Good terms.
Good terms for Vince Sr.,
For
right?
Vince Sr., yes.
I mean, it's good terms for Vince Sr., and also in retrospect, it's the greatest acquisition maybe. And it's like being the person who invested $28 in Apple.
Yep.
At the beginning is what this is going to end up looking like.
And so the rumors, though, are that the first payment came from the mob.
What murder?
And that the subsequent payments were funded yearly by the WWF's own incoming revenue. Of course, we weren't able to substantiate that, but
There are no receipts in crime.
Yeah, I love a good mafia storyline.
Yeah, I know me too. You know me.
But the real con is something that Vince Jr. later admitted openly. He said to his father, well, he lied by omission to his father, okay? So
That's not so bad.
Vince Sr., okay, and Justin, maybe you can also chime in here on the territorial system
Yes.
of how wrestling worked at the time.
Yeah, so wrestling as it's organized before Vince Jr. comes along is it's organized into regional territories. So you have the WWF, which its key venue is Madison Square Garden. It's New York City up to New England, right? But then you had Florida where Dusty Rhodes is working, and I think superstar Billy Graham, they're out of Florida. There was a Georgia territory. There was the NWA territory in the upper South and Midwest. You had the AWA, which was like in the upper Midwest. You had world-class wrestling down in Texas with the Von Erich families. So if you go back pre-merger, you could what wrestlers could do is you would go and work in one territory, and because it wasn't national TV, you would still be a fresh character and you can go work in another territory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that was a stable system that worked for everyone, basically, at that time. But not for Vinny.
He's got plans.
He wanted to nationalize the WWF. And again, this is a huge deal. There's a mutual respect that everyone has. You don't come on my territory, you know? And apparently, Vince Sr. would have never sold to his son if he had known that his son was planning to do that. And so, of course, his first major acquisition, as Justin said, probably one of the greatest acquisitions in capitalism, was built on a lie, which I guess fits. To his dad, though.
A lie by omission.
Well, lie by
A lie by
omission.
omission is not like an active
Oh my
lie.
God.
That's not an active lie. I just didn't tell you what it was.
I just didn't,
You didn't ask
you couldn't
me.
ask.
You didn't
couldn't
ask me
I never
if I was
said-
going to go national. I never said I wasn't.
Yeah.
You didn't ask me the right questions.
So,
I don't know. More and more.
I can't argue
I'm
with
on-
anything you said there. I
more
wish
and
I
more I'm
could.
on his
I
side.
can't. I got nothing.
For some things, they're wrong. He wasn't wrong.
Don't ask questions you don't want the answers
Right.
to.
You don't want the answer to. So what's the problem?
When Vince Jr. started his hostile national expansion, Vince Sr. apparently was getting phone calls from other regional promoters, and they were threatening his son's life. Like, hey, Vince, what's your kid doing? He's coming into my territory. He's going to wind up dead. I'm going to crush him like a grape, which is a very old-timey
That
thing
is. That
to
is.
say. Other rivals
Rah.
promised he'd wind up at the bottom of a river. Definitely not mob-related in any sort of way.
No.
No, definitely don't get any of that. Vince fielded those calls, and once the money started coming in, the competition just collapsed, really. And, he would do all of these crazy things where he'd like buy the rights against another territory with his wrestlers. And like, not just like he stole everything.
Yeah.
So we all know there's this guy named Hulk Hogan. And so this is kind of the intro of how Vince grabs Hulk Hogan. You know Hulk Hogan, right?
I do know Hulk Hogan. That's like one of the only wrestlers, other than like The Rock. And who else is the guy who's hot, Jason Momoa. He was a wrestler.
Well, no.
No.
You're thinking of Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns.
you are right.
Sort
I
of
am
looks
thinking of Roman
Jason
Reigns.
Momoa.
Was Jason Momoa not a wrestler ever?
No, he's never.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm sure.
Well, he's big and Samoan looking. So
Yeah.
I was fooled.
You're allowed to say that. Okay.
Jason Momoa.
As a sort of Samoan looking person.
Jason Momoa is actually notable for being the first big Samoan that was famous that was not affiliated with
I
professional
really,
wrestling.
this whole time, truly, I thought he was a wrestler first. You know who else I thought was a wrestler? Vin Diesel.
Oh,
Was he a wrestler?
Yeah.
He kinda,
I feel like he guessed it on a WrestleMania or something. He
I
must
think
have been
because
ringside.
in my head, Vin
He might have been
Diesel
promoting
and
Fast
The Rock.
6 and showed
Yeah,
up.
Vin Diesel and The Rock in my head are like the same
Well,
ball-headed.
they did not get along.
Oh, well,
All right.
all right. Before 1982, American professional wrestling ran on a system. The country is carved into territories, regional fiefdoms, each with its own promoter, its own talent, its own TV market. The National Wrestling Alliance, the NWA, holds it together. You weren't supposed to cross into someone else's territory. You were not supposed to take their talent. You weren't supposed to take their TV slots. It's like any other organized crime relationship. It works because everyone profits from the agreement.
From time immemorial, there have been different territories with different bosses and different soldiers. We always respect all agreements, but Vince Jr., you're unreasonable. You cross the territory.
You bring this junk into our town.
You take my junkyard dog, and I see him on TV in New York.
Oh, man. So Vince McMahon did not believe in the agreement. He did 3 things. He poached the stars, then he bought the TV slots, then you outbid their pay-per-view carriers until the competitor has no revenue streams left. Then you buy what's left for pennies on the dollar.
So I think another thing we've also talked about in general in the show, as like always, and this is like a problem that I have with like people always text us that they're like, why don't you do this guy or that guy? And a lot of times it's not illegal and it's not fraud. It is just capitalism.
Yeah.
And there's nothing you can...
That's kind of how I felt at the end of Eric Adams. I'm like, I don't know. He's just doing capitalism.
Yeah.
He's just doing what white men have been doing for a long time.
Exactly.
I've become
Adam Stan.
an Adams sympathizer? I don't know. Lightly.
Yeah. How did you get all the Turkish Airlines money and we didn't?
Yeah.
Because I got us the sponsorship.
Yeah.
Turkish Airlines
you
for this.
understand the plight of the Turkish
I
people.
do.
You understand what they need.
This podcast is going to get me caught up. They're going to use this in court. They're going to be like, you said you were a sympathizer. All right, look. A lot of times, yeah, it's capitalism. It's bad, but it's not fraud.
Yeah.
December 1983, the crown jewel. Vince poaches Hulk Hogan from Vern Gagne's AWA in Minneapolis. Simultaneously, while pretending to negotiate a friendly deal with Gagne, Vince goes behind the AWA's back and buys their television slot on KPLR in St. Louis. Gagne's son Greg later said Vince, quote, completely destroyed his father and the AWA.
Yeah. Again, capitalism, not fraud, and yet still awful.
Yeah, it's just not good.
Yeah.
But he doesn't
Good
care
for
about
who?
these people.
He doesn't.
Yeah, he doesn't. It's selfishness.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Selfishness isn't always fraud. Through 1984, Vince buys advertising time in rival territories' local markets, promoting WWF shows on their stations, using their audiences to undercut them. He uses his control of the lucrative New York market to outbid regional promoters for cable windows, systematically strangling their revenue until they went out of business. Black Saturday happens. Vince executes a covert buyout of Georgia Championship Wrestling, not for the promotion itself, but for its time slot on Ted Turner's superstation TBS, a national cable channel. He replaces Georgia Championship Wrestling's programming with WWF content overnight. The industry calls it Black Saturday. The industry meant it as condemnation. Vince treated it as a compliment.
I'll tell you, there's some funny story, like overlap. As Vince is doing this, you can see how he's gonna win. There's always a good story that so Harley Race, who's a real serious tough guy, old school wrestling guy, like smoking cigarettes, driving 100 miles per hour, and when a cop pulls him over, it's like, hey, you were driving 100 miles per hour, and Harley Race looks at the cop and be like, was I? And then the cop's like, you have a good day, sir. And then he just peels off. or like Harley Race would go, Harley Race was the real guy where he'd go to the bars. Ric Flair tells a story. He would go to any tough guy bar in the town, and all the guys would have their quarters stacked up on the pool table, and Harley Race would come in and knock the quarters off the table. And he goes, I'm next. Anybody got a problem with that? The world champion. And then he'd whip everybody. He'd whip whoever you thought was the toughest dude in the bar. Harley Race would come and whip that dude's ass and then go wrestle Ric Flair for the belt night. So Hulk Hogan comes in this thing where they're intruding on NWA territory. So Harley Race is looking to protect NWA NWA territory. So he goes, where's fucking Hogan? And he shows up backstage with a 9mm and puts it in like Hogan's face. Like, what are you doing in my territory? But then he's like, is Vince hiring?
Oh man.
and Vince McMahon hires Harley Race. And yeah.
Oh my God.
Wow.
But he's like pulling a gun on Hulk Hogan. Yeah.
So, I mean, they were just crushing it.
They were doing amazing. By 1990, the WWF is doing $1.7 billion in revenue, outgrossing the NFL.
Yeah. I mean, I just think there's...
Because 1990 is, so what they're, you know, what we're losing there is like taking Hulk Hogan from the AWA, where he's kind of an up and coming guy. Vince, once he puts him with the patriotic thing, Hulk Hogan becomes the biggest phenomenon in the history of pro wrestling. And he's the first guy to take it from a Harley Race, I whip the guy in your town, to now Hogan is the most merchandised guy. He's like a legitimate American hero for children.
Yeah.
He's in that Michael Jordan kind of category of name and media recognition. And that's what fuels the kind of rocket ship of WWF. It's Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant.
Yeah.
Guys like that. Yeah.
Wow.
There's this guy, wrestler Buddy Rogers. I don't think I really remember him, but apparently he said this incredible statement that I found. And he said, quote, McMahon Jr. is the modern day Hitler of professional wrestling. And if you told him that, he would take you out for dinner and buy you the biggest steak he could. He thrives on people hating his guts. He loves it.
And Buddy Rogers knows that because he was a famous wrestling villain. His whole job was to get people to hate him. Nature Boy Buddy Rogers. Ric Flair took Nature Boy from him.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Nature Boy Buddy Rogers.
Ooh, okay. We're going to take a quick break from network ads, but a gentle reminder that you can help us not depend on advertising by signing up for our Patreon at patreon.com/fraudsters. You'll get extra content and even the ability to be in a private chat with us.
That's right. So don't forget, patreon.com/fraudsters. Hang out with us.
So here's where I get like infuriated, but this is where Vince apparently got very excited about the moves that he was making because he gets very structural in what he's doing. And this is the move that really separates like wrestling as a place where, you know, sports artists could come together and a entertainment factory, okay? And so for decades, the state athletic commissions regulated professional wrestling, like boxing, okay? And so that meant Vince had to pay commission fees on ticket sales and provide mandatory on-site physicians and EMTs. And they had to fund pre-match health screenings for every performer. I mean, snooze alert, costs a lot of money.
Yeah.
So Vince decided to put an end to all this.
Okay.
His argument, wrestling isn't a sport. It's entertainment. It's scripted. It's predetermined. And if it's a sport, or rather, if it's not a sport, it shouldn't be regulated like a sport. At the same time, though, he's out here marketing the product of wrestling on television as the most physically grueling competition in the world.
Oh, just because I'm marketing something as a thing doesn't mean that it's that thing.
And they needed EMTs, by the way. If you watched any pro wrestling sort of main event from this era, the amount of bleeding the world champion would do in the ring. It's like, you really actually need a doctor.
You need a doctor, and then like you're hitting your head. You're banging.
Concussions.
Lots of concussions.
Injuries. Yeah. It's scripted, but people are like really getting hurt in there.
When you fall, gravity isn't fake. So,
All right, I guess give him healthcare or whatever.
all right, so he can't just like randomly do this. In Connecticut in 1985, the Republican state representative Lauren E. Dickinson presents a bill to remove government oversight of wrestling. Can't imagine where that person got that idea. WWF's lawyer argues the case before the state politicians with the immortal question, if something isn't real, how dangerous could it be? Let that sink in.
It's so great because they are legally arguing a question that got everybody's ass whipped in local bars when pro wrestlers walked in.
Yeah.
Like if you
right.
saying that wrestling was fake was the easiest way to get put in a hospital.
Even today, you see guys flip out. Wrestlers flip out when they get asked, like, "Is it fake? Aren't you? Is it just fake?"
Well, they don't assault people the way they used. It used to be in order to protect the business. You now have to beat this guy.
Yeah.
But then once the lawsuit started,
They stopped.
they stopped. You can't go out and just beat up a guy.
Yeah.
I mean, can't you?
John Stossel from ABC.
Oh, he got shook?
Got beat up?
On live TV, he said he went up to David Schultz, Dr. Death David Schultz.
We should have that clip.
And he said, wrestling's fake, right? And David Schultz open hand slapped Stossel in the head twice and like shattered his eardrums, and Stossel's stuff, like he's nearly knocked out.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was like a $4 million lawsuit or something like that.
Wow.
And then Hogan, Richard Belzer was saying it was fake.
Yes, I remember that
Hogan choked Richard Belzer out and he passed out and hit his head at the floor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he got Law and Order SVU after that. So then in the late 80s, Vince deploys his lawyer, Jerry McDevitt. And we should remember this guy because I always say, like, doctors have to go to school for decades, right? And, it's like very life or death. Lawyers, I only had to pass the bar exam, and you can bring down industries. You can bring down the global. I passed one exam, and they let you do everything. So it's Jerry McDevitt, and who went and also enlisted a young attorney named Rick Santorum.
Oh, what a great guy.
Remember that? Did everyone remember Rick Santorum?
I love Rick Santorum.
Senator Rick Santorum, presidential candidate Rick Santorum, the Santorum that got the way, if you look up Google bombing in the internet, the Santorum is like the platonic ideal definition of what happens when the internet wants to turn your last name into literal shit. Okay, so here's what they did. They took these two guys, McDevitt and Santorum, and they did a classic persuasion scam. They took politicians out for free WWF tickets, booze, food, like, the chairman of the House Government Committee and his staff, they all just took them out. And then all of a sudden, wrestling deregulated in Pennsylvania by the fall of 1988. Who did it? What a surprise.
Sometimes it's all it takes.
Just got to see Hogan drop that leg.
Exactly.
And then you're like, you know what? No more laws.
Consistently throughout time, lobbying is the best possible investment. The amount of return you get on lobbying is crazy, whether it's like a tax break or anything, like it's nuts. They get paid back tenfold. These politicians are a cheap date, man.
I got to start lobbying.
Yeah, I don't know. What will we lobby for?
This podcast?
Yeah, we should be
we should be lobbying.
In New Jersey, in Atlantic City in 1988, the WWF holds WrestleMania 4 in Atlantic City, right? So New Jersey sends a tax bill, $61,000, and Vince hires a high-profile Republican lobbyist to go to war. And in 89, he personally testifies before the New Jersey State Athletic Control Board and explicitly says that wrestling matches are predetermined and not legitimate athletic contests. By 1990, he sues the state to avoid paying broadcast taxes, arguing his company is entertainment, not sport. Again, simultaneously running ads that this is an incredible sporting event and saying this is absolutely not a sporting event.
Yeah.
And so it's like, and so here's what all of these moves get you to do. When you classify these giant men that are, jumping and falling and breaking chairs and tables and stuff like that.
They are jumping, they are falling.
You classify them not as athletes, but as entertainers. You don't have to pay them workers' comp, or you don't have to cover them for workers' comp coverage. There's no pension protections. There's no mandatory medical coverage because they're independent contractors. And so now he doesn't even pay payroll taxes. Like all the stuff. I run a business, man. It's crazy. It's like, you know it too. It's like all of these things that you have to provide your employees, you don't have to do. And especially if you're in a entertainment of athletes like this, you would have to do a lot of healthcare costs, right? So now the most grueling competition in the world is filled with men that have to care for their own minds and bodies with zero support from the people that pay them. So you can imagine that this would lead into a beautiful soup of self-medicating your body with steroids in the 1980s. The pain pill epidemic of the 1990s and 2000s, of course. And then, you know, what happened to all those dozens of WWE performers over time when they, you know, unalived themselves.
Well, don't forget the cocaine that you need to be able to perform over 300 dates a year.
Yeah.
'Cause that was
like
the
in a
WWF
row.
schedule.
Yeah.
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 And then you don't, you know, there's no rules. This next story is a little, it's a little rough.
Yeah.
But I think it's also important because it kind of sets up Vince's ability to try to solve problems.
our not inability.
Yeah.
His problem.
Yeah. To cause more problems.
Yeah.
So we do need to stop here, but before we get to the steroid trial, before we get to the IPO, before we get to any of these things that officially make Vince McMahon a subject of a federal investigation, January 18th, 1983, wrestler Jimmy Snuka attacks his girlfriend Nancy Argentino while heavily intoxicated on cocaine. It takes multiple police officers and their attack dogs to subdue the 230-pound man. Journalist David Bixenspan later reports finding a note in police records indicating that Vince McMahon attempted to talk Argentino out of filing a complaint. She signs a sworn affidavit declining to press charges. May 10th, 1983.
So you think, okay, dodged a bullet,
Nice guy.
not going to do this again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. In May 10th, 1983, Snuka calls 911 from a hotel room in Whitehall, Pennsylvania. Nancy Argentino is not breathing. His initial statement to paramedics, they had gotten physical, quote, wrestled a little too much. By the time police interviewed him, the story had changed. She slipped in her bathroom, caught her head on something. The medical examiner disagrees. The case, the examiner says, should be investigated as a homicide until proven otherwise. June 1st, 1983, Vince McMahon personally drives Jimmy Snuka back to Pennsylvania for a meeting with the DA, the assistant DA, the medical examiner, and several police officers. There is no police record of what was said in that room. In Snuka's 2012 memoir, one detail surfaces. Vince was carrying a briefcase. Vince McMahon was not known to carry a briefcase. The briefcase has never been explained.
Okay, so we don't know any of that is true.
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
It's a very allegedly thing, but it's very Vince McMahon.
Yeah.
Okay.
Snuka is never charged. Author Abraham Josephine Reisman flags in Ringmaster that the bribery interpretation, while persistent, is speculative. The lack of charges could also reflect the rampant misogyny of the era. Authorities dismissing Argentino because she had stayed in the relationship despite documented prior abuse. Reisman is right to flag this. Both things can be true simultaneously. It begins the pattern.
Yeah. Okay. So I want to play just a clip because you know, if you don't know who this guy was, as context, I think it's important because the excuse of we wrestled a little bit too much is insane. It like is the most incredulous possible excuse. First of all, just on a personal level, my brother used to Jimmy Superfly Snuka body slam me and like jump from the couch and
Oh my God.
slam on me all
Yeah.
the time. That was like classic older brother move. But I want you to see what his move was, Ariel.
I'm scared.
That's what he was known for. Just
Flying in the air.
flying in the air, just roided up, insane
Wow.
man, flying through the air, falling on people. Yeah. All right.
Yeah, it's like, besides the fact that he murdered a woman.
Yeah.
Very famous for the kind of creating the hardcore. Jumping off the cage is like the birth of kind of early hardcore.
Yeah.
Where you're really pushing the boundaries of human. Yeah. So, yeah, I have a story that lets you know how we talk about the rampant misogyny of the era. Because one thing is, the wrestlers from this era do podcasts and they're telling stories and they don't realize how crazy they are in the current context. These are like good old road stories.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh my God. So Marty Jannetty, he was He was in the Rockers with Shawn Michaels, and he's telling an Iron Sheik story. They're going in towns, and wrestlers had different women in different towns. They called them ring rats.
Yikes.
Because they were the groupies.
Yeah.
And Marty Jannetty wanted to hook up with one, but there was another girl that he had hooked up with previously, but he's looking to have Iron Sheik being wingman, right? So he goes, go off with the Iron Sheik in the hotel room. And then he's in the, Marty Jannetty's in the room with the girl he's with. And then he just, paramedics knock on the door, and then they see the woman being pushed out with a gurney. And he goes into the room with the Iron Sheik. He goes, Sheik, what happened? And Sheik's like, Marty, you tell me to hang out with girls, so I hang out with girl. So I give her powder, right? And we hang out and we have fun, right? I give her powder. And then she say, well, where's Marty Jannetty? I say, fuck Marty Jannetty. And then I give her short clothesline. And Marty Jannetty's like, what? You gave her a short clothesline? And he goes, oh, Marty, she doesn't know how to work, which means she didn't know how to like fall the way a wrestler would fall.
He's insane.
And like that's considered like a humorous story. And that lets you know like how crazy that era.
Oh my God. I'm sorry. You told that in a funny way though.
No, I did not tell that in a funny. I'm trying to, it's like the only, it's like weird. It's like Iron Sheik is like this character.
Yeah.
To where it's considered like funny because it's
a
like
meme.
crazy.
It's a meme.
Yeah, but it's like, but when you think about the context of that story, it's like horrifying.
And that happened so many times.
And those are your heroes.
Well,
No, I did not say Marty Jannetty or the Iron Sheik are my heroes.
Specifically the Martin Sheik.
The Iron Sheik is actually Ceena's hero.
He did say that.
He's
he
like-
was the
once.
only
He's
Iranian.
He's like the only Persian celebrity.
What am I supposed to do? I had no one else. Khomeini? Come on. I didn't know.
R.I.P. Iron Sheik who clotheslined a woman.
Oh, God.
I mean, I gotta know.
Rest in piss.
God damn. So awful. All right. So by the... so
Thanks.
terrible. I hope you're dealing with all this like we are, folks. By the early 90s, Vince McMahon's WWF had a steroid problem that is impossible to ignore. And we kind of referenced it a little bit here already, but the performers were, they were jacked up. They looked insane. And it turns out it came mainly from this urologist in Pennsylvania named Dr. George Zahurian, which...
Do you know him?
Did you see the way I pronounced that last name?
Yeah.
I'm not going to say I think he's Armenian, but I think he's Armenian.
Okay.
The IAN is the tip-off, but I don't know.
If there are any Armenians in Los Angeles, please,
Please let us know.
please all listen to the show at once and then give us an email.
Yeah.
He's either Persian or Armenian, so I mean, either way,
We'll find out.
he could be an Armenian Persian. There's a lot,
That's true. That
you know.
exists.
We'll be right back after this message from Turkish Airlines. So Zahurian is a ringside physician for the WWF. He's also, according to federal prosecutors, a primary steroid supplier for the entire roster. In 1991, he's convicted on 12 counts of distributing controlled substances, steroids, painkillers to WWF personnel. He gets 3 years in prison and a $12,000 fine. At trial, Zahurian testifies that he regularly shipped steroid packages to WWF headquarters, which is hilarious. You just like
Packages.
just packages. Here's the the little belts. And then here's some steroids.
Yeah, whatever you do.
Who's signing for this? He also sent a package of Rogaine to announcer Gene Okerlund, and I just want to show the image of Mean Gene Okerlund to you.
It did not work.
Yeah. This is not a good ad for Rogaine.
No, it is not.
R.I.P. Mean Gene, by the way.
Yeah, Mean Gene.
I don't know if any of these people get to rest in peace.
No,
I don't know.
Mean Gene.
I think he was okay.
On my
He was
accounts, he
mean.
was a good man.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? I'm not even going to say anything.
I don't trust any of these.
By 93, though, Vince is indicted on federal charges of conspiracy to distribute anabolic steroids. Because it's like, buddy, you're in charge of the mailroom.
Yeah, I guess. Huh?
And it's just also, if you're not a wrestling fan, 80s through 93, the physiques of some of the stars become like otherworldly. So I would say look at Hulk Hogan look at his physique in 1986 versus like 1998 after the steroids trial.
Yeah.
It's not even comparable.
So, like,
the
Arnold
Ultimate Warrior is like crazier than Arnold Schwarzenegger. Like your abs
Oh,
have
nothing.
abs.
Yeah.
Like the Ultimate were like being just pure cut. Guys are 300 pounds
I remember
of raw
Ultimate
muscle.
Warrior's muscle. He had like another bicep on top of his bicep.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
Yeah.
Is this weird?
A
That we're
bicep
just
on
like,
top
look,
of
we
a
looked at
bicep.
his biceps.
I know. I'm
No.
just listening. I'm just listening.
No, you talk about body dysmorphia for
Yes.
men of our generation. It's
For
like
boys.
it's this era because it's Schwarzenegger, it's Stallone. This is the steroid era, and then it's also like in baseball.
Jose
Like,
Canseco.
yeah, guys are gonna start hitting 100 home runs a year. It's like a crazy period. It's like one of
Barry
those things where you
Bonds'
look back and like
head.
everybody's on crack. You're
Yeah.
like, oh, all men were on steroids back then. Yeah, he gets twice as thick.
Yeah. So his head literally expanded.
Yeah,
Thick neck.
He was on the Pirates growing up, and he had this like slender physique.
Yeah.
And then by the time he's a San Francisco Giant, he's like huge. His head is.
You don't need
just-
to be that big to play baseball. I thought.
You don't, but you do if you want to send like 300 home runs or whatever he ended up
okay.
doing.
yeah. When you watch
Or
the home run
1,000.
contest from those
Yeah.
years, like the 1999 home run contest is like. Mark McGuire just hit it, and it killed someone 4 blocks from the stadium. then, like the home, like people are just people are hitting the ball, and you see people just looking to the outer wall of the stadium.
Yeah.
It's like you're watching like what would normally be the longest home run in human history. Like 25 of those get hit in a row. You know, kind of miss those days. I
Yeah,
gotta
those
say.
were fun.
What is happening?
I wouldn't mind an aluminum bat. Anyways, so there is great breakdown of some news footage from the trial that I want to show.
Vince McMahon, who also develops one of the most crazy physiques.
Crazy.
Yeah,
He does?
He's like a
he
triangle.
gets huge.
He does.
Yeah.
Yeah, he gets huge. He's
I don't
he's
remember him
juicing.
being big.
He's
ever.
juicing and working out.
In the past, McMahon has admitted he personally used steroids and shared them with a friend, but he says he was not a dealer, and he stopped using steroids before using them became illegal. Outside court, responding to the indictment, McMahon would only say,
Sometimes life isn't fair, and unfortunately, for me, I believe this is one of those instances.
This is great. This is a little
"It's a
interview
case
with
that is
someone at a
sending
gym.
shockwaves through
that I-
gyms all over Long Island. Athlete Pete Fierro says steroids are easily available on college campuses, but he says no one should use them.
So they just try to be something they're not for the public, and I guess they had no other way out but taking steroids.
Some of
Shouldn't
the
do
drug
it.
deals allegedly took place at the Nassau Coliseum, where McMahon booked wrestling matches.
World Wrestling Federation head Vince McMahon allowed himself just the slightest expression
Looks
of
like
relief
Christopher
as the
Moltisanti
verdict
there.
was read. Not guilty of conspiring to distribute
Looks like
steroids
Sebastian
to
Maniscalco.
several of his larger-than-life wrestlers.
Coming into this, I didn't have a great deal of faith
He's got the neck
the,
brace.
The
uh,
on.
neck brace
Judicial
moving his
system.
neck a lot, though.
as such, nor necessarily in the way and manner in which someone is prosecuted. But the one thing I've always had is faith in humanity. And today, that was reaffirmed.
The trial lasted about 2 weeks and included testimony from some of the WWF's
I didn't do it,
stars.
brother.
Hulk Hogan, the Ultimate Warrior, Ravishing Rick Rude, and several others.
I like how
All
the
of
guy
whom
said
admitted they once
ravishing Rick- he
used
didn't need to
steroids,
say
but
that.
denied that McMahon was their dealer. During lengthy closing arguments on Wednesday, prosecutor Sean O'Shea called McMahon a wealthy corporate drug pusher, while McMahon's lawyers questioned the motivation behind the government's case, calling it, in essence, a witch hunt. After the verdict, McMahon broke his 2-week-long silence to speak about the 2.5-year-long government investigation of him and his corporation, an investigation that would now appear
Child reporter.
to be over.
It has been quite an ordeal.
I'm here for Sports Illustrated
And
for
upon
Kids.
the onset of the investigation, certainly there's no one in America who is not above being investigated for any reason. I thought that from time to time the investigation was a bit unfair. I thought that the charges that were hurled against me and my company were wrong.
So, yeah, that gives a good enough breakdown. I don't want to get too much into this, but I just want to mention that Hogan was under immunity for prosecution, and he testified that somewhere between 75 and 80% of the 1980s WWF locker room was using steroids.
There's nothing wrong with
It's
that.
like crazy.
I love it that Hogan just tells on everybody.
He's like,
Yeah. Everybody. We'll get to that story later. Hold on to that one.
Everybody's doing it. What's the problem?
He testifies that he used to call Vince's secretary to place his steroid orders with Zahurian and pick the drugs up alongside his paycheck at Titan Sports headquarters. No. How do you not get the conspiracy charge to stick when you're calling the secretary? Like, that, I think, is the villain-esque loyalty and like buffer protection racket that he was able to create. There's a bunch more in here, but I mean, it's just, I think one thing and we're going to get to Bret Hart and how Vince McMahon screwed him over. One of the things that a lot of the wrestlers said, which is weird, even the ones that didn't like him, like Bret Hart, he said Vince wasn't guilty, but he wasn't the good guy.
Yeah.
And so I still don't know, like, did you create the environment? And I guess what they're saying is that's not illegal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you allow something but don't consciously encourage it or do the actual, because I guess conspiracy is a very specific type of charge where you have to be orchestrating and coordinating. If your secretary's doing everything, I guess it doesn't count.
It doesn't count. It doesn't stick.
Well, you create an environment where you're not saying it's mandatory for your employees to take steroids, but when you see Hulk Hogan and the Ultimate Warrior and all these, that's the body types that are the headliners that are making the most money. You don't have to.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're implicitly saying this is what we want without saying like, you better get on these steroids. I never said it, to you.
Nope.
But, by omission, yet again.
Ariel, I want you to take us through the Montreal Screwjob, which if you're a wrestling fan, you know this. This will be something that I think you'll enjoy.
I sort of know about this.
Okay.
Maybe this will make it clearer for me. So, the setup. By late 1997, Bret Hart is the reigning WWF World Heavyweight Champion. He has signed a deal to leave for a rival promotion, WCW, in December. Vince McMahon, in one of his few documented moments of financial candor, admits that he can no longer afford to pay Bret's 20-year guaranteed contract. He actually helps negotiate Bret's exit. Bret's final night with the WWF is Survivor Series, November 9th, 1997, at the Molson Center in Montreal, Canada. The problem? Bret Hart has a creative control clause in his contract, and he refuses to lose the WWF Championship to Shawn Michaels in his home country. He has legitimate beef with Michaels. Shawn told Bret to his face that he would never be willing to put Bret over him. Canada is not the place. The agreement? The match ends in a disqualification or no contest. Bret will forfeit the title gracefully the next night on Raw before leaving.
Justin, can you just take a moment? Because it is scripted, but he has a creative control clause. And the honor of the sporting aspect of it still matters. Like how you go out in the storyline of honor matters.
Yeah.
Why?
Because you always want to sustain the business. So even though Bret's going to come across as sympathetic here, he's actually kind of in the wrong. You're always supposed to go out on your back and put the belt on the next person. So the business, always leave the business in a place where it can continue for everybody else. You don't make the business about yourself.
Yeah.
So it's like there's a lot of selfish personalities here. By Shawn saying, I'll never put you over, he's being bad for business. Everybody's they're all being unprofessional here.
Yeah.
And so it leads to what Vince is gonna do, right? It's why when you're an older wrestler, even when you're getting ready to retire, what you usually do, if you have name and credibility, you'll wrestle a younger guy and you'll lose to him to kind of pass the torch publicly to the younger wrestler.
Yeah.
So he can then draw the money.
So I think that's what's supposed to happen here. No one wants to basically do it.
Yeah.
Okay. So Vince's problem is that he's terrified that Bret will take the physical championship belt to WCW and dump it in the trash on live TV. It has happened before. Alundra Blaze did exactly this when she jumped to WCW, and he cannot let the belt walk out of Canada. So what Vince does is he orders a covert screw job. Mid-match, Shawn Michaels locks Bret in his own signature submission hold, the sharpshooter.
Hell yeah.
Sure.
You ever get put in a sharpshooter, Justin?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, man. It's rough.
It's not fun.
Nope.
That was at Whole Foods. I had me in the sharp shooter.
On McMahon's direct order, standing at ringside, referee Earl Hebner calls for the bell. Shawn Michaels is the WWF champion, but Bret Hart never tapped out. Bret Hart on live pay-per-view spits directly in Vince McMahon's face. He destroys the ringside monitors, and backstage in the locker room, he punches Vince in the head and knocks him out. A documentary crew filming Wrestling with Shadows captures Vince limping out of the locker room afterward.
All right, let's play this clip. There's just a little bit of it. It's like a couple minutes, but you don't get to see the punch or anything like that. But I think I want to show it because the intensity of what's happening backstage is just palpable.
This was a real crisis. Yeah,
this is crazy. And they're backstage. I punched him as hard as I could, knocked him right out. Look at him, and Vince is stumble walking like he is. He's not doing the swagger.
So Vince doesn't care. The audience hates him. Everyone watched him betray his own champ. And frankly, I think he wanted this to happen. He wanted to birth this character. Mr. McMahon, evil, power-hungry billionaire who cares only about himself. How convenient.
Vince McMahon, this is really kind of like the dawning, right, of the Mr. McMahon character in a way. And he would say later,
Yeah. Performing is easy. Being yourself is the difficult part.
No, he said the thing. He went on TV and they were like, what about this? And he went,
Brett screwed Brett. We've had a time-honored tradition in this business.
and then fans were booing Vince McMahon. And then he became actually arguably the greatest villain in the history of wrestling because he then made himself the central villain of the company.
of the whole thing.
Yeah.
And he owned the company. I mean, talk about the power. I mean, it's crazy. All right, so we got one more story for this episode, and it's a sad one, but I think it also, again, exemplifies how grotesque Vince McMahon is. In 1999, Bret Hart's brother, Owen Hart, was a wrestler in many different forms, but in this instance, he was this Superman character, and they were in Kansas City, Missouri, at the Kemper Arena, and it was the WWF's Over the Edge pay-per-view, and it was 16,000 people,
Wow.
and he's scheduled to drop in. He did this bit, and he's done it before, where he drops in from like a cable as the blue blazer.
Flavor Flav did that at his roast.
Yes, and
Did he?
He
he had a
flew in.
mask, but it was like it was a satire or a parody, more of a parody.
Yeah.
And the arena goes dark, and they're watching a little like pre-tape thing, and then you can kind of see someone coming down, and then he falls.
Oh, no.
Yeah. He falls like over 70 feet.
Oh, my God.
Internal bleeding. He's 34 years old.
Wow.
The audience doesn't really know what happened because it kind of happened in the dark. You also don't know if it's kayfabe. You don't
it
know
real?
what's
Yeah.
real. Exactly. The broadcast team is like confused. They don't know what to do. They play a little pre-tape thing. There's a little rumor that Owen's blood is on the side of the ring, but I kind of saw some other stuff that it wasn't actually his blood. Mm-hmm. It was from a different match of that night. Mm-hmm. But Vince stops the show and says, "Hey, everyone, this happened." Vince cries on stage, and he honors Owen Hart's devotion.
This doesn't sound like Vince McMahon. This is actually really nice. It's out of character.
No, you'll see.
Oh.
None of that happened. I'm sorry. It was absolutely the complete opposite. He asked...
The show must go on.
Exactly. This man died. He knew the man died, and he was like, the show has to keep going. Yeah. And so when he was asked about it later, he said he would make the same business decision again.
Wow, he is a nightmare.
You'll be liable. No, and what's crazy is matches when like Stone Cold and The Undertaker had to wrestle like a main event after that. And the announcers had to announce on the pay-per-view that Owen Hart had actually died.
Yeah.
On the air. They were just like given a note, you got to read this.
So my question for you guys, if maybe you know this, Would you happen to know if the other wrestlers knew he
Yeah,
died?
they did.
Or
Oh,
they did.
Not,
They
or did
did.
they not tell them?
They did know. They all were all
During
messed
the
up
show?
about it.
Yeah.
They all have interviews.
He fell from the and he hit the ropes. The ropes are just steel covered in like kind of vinyl.
Yeah.
So you're just falling and hitting steel. It's like wrestlers know about falling and how to
fall.
Yeah, and they're like, oh, he's
dead.
He's dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so Owen's wife, Martha Hart, files a wrongful death lawsuit against WWF at that time and settled in 2000. An investigation afterward reveals that the manufacturer of the harness had knowingly sold a defective product to the WWF.
Wow.
So Vince, I mean, there's so many different ways Vince could have been a shred of a good person.
Right. This is just, he really is a villain.
Well, the business decision that says is that if he's contractually obligated to provide that pay-per-view, if he pulls the pay-per-view, then like it's could potentially a cascading sort of effect on the entire business.
I don't know about that. I think that's potential, but it's like someone died.
But that, yeah, someone died.
Someone died.
But then there's also like every wrestling show, potentially somebody gets seriously injured, and that's always the
seriously
continue.
injured is different than dying.
Yeah, no, I'm not defending it. I'm just saying, like, I'm trying to provide what this mindset of this bit, like a dangerous business that has already made.
But even then, you have insurance. There's plenty of different outs for them.
Yeah.
Other
Yeah.
promoters and networks, like everyone would have understood.
People would have understood.
People would have.
And it still would have
businesses
been big
understood.
news. Like, he
Yeah.
still could have thought of it that way. Like, oh, this is a thing that people are going to be talking about.
Hey, as much as, yeah, I'm on your side, but I just, not to be a Vince McMahon defender.
It sounds like
It sounds like.
Hey, a player from the Buffalo Bills died on the field. We finished that game.
Oh
Was that
yeah.
on the field?
Yeah, a guy named Hamlin. Was it like DeMar Hamlin? He went into cardiac
Yeah,
arrest on the
cardiac
field,
arrest.
and he lived, but he was on the field. He was dead.
Yeah.
And there was like a pause, but the NFL, they finished the game.
But that could have a cascading effect on the NFL's
I hate
business.
Well, I'm just saying, like, Vince is not like in combat sports and like physical
It's
contact
not a sport,
stuff.
though, Justin.
Well, you're not a sport, yeah.
Well, as you can see, this is a very contentious
I know,
moment
we're
here on the
fighting
show. I think we navigate some of this stuff. It does get worse in the next episode.
Very bad so far.
No, a
I
guy
feel
died
bad.
live on pay-per-view.
Yeah, at the end of this episode, someone dies live on pay-per-view.
I think it's going to be a different flavor of bad
Oh, okay.
coming up here. So make sure you stick around. I'm Seena Cassidy.
I'm Ariel Yeti.
And I'm Vincent J. McMahon.
And check us out on all the socials. Make sure you subscribe to the show here. And we'll see you next time.
Or you're fired.